been a while since we've seen each other.
Ah, it's funny is one of the last times I got blacked out was with you. But
Yeah.
This Friday, I was hungover all weekend. I still don't feel I'm moisturized yet.
Oh yeah. Where were you this Friday?
I just went to a baseball game. I don't know who won. I don't know who was
Hell yeah.
playing. I just like the sound of the crowd. Obviously the company I was with, but to be in the stadium to hear like 50,000 just
That's great. Yeah. What
but
baseball game did you go to?
it was the Philadelphia
Oh,
Phillies.
nice. That's sick. Yeah. My sister lived in Philadelphia for a long time, so she's a huge Philadelphia everything fan. So
Are are you guys originally from Texas?
yeah, I am. I was kind of raised my whole life between Houston and Beaumont, a little town called Liberty, and then my dad ended up moving to Shreveport, Louisiana, whenever I was like 9. So yeah, so my mom was always in Liberty, and my dad was always in Shreveport. So I was kind of half and half, back and forth my whole life. So
Nice. Now, did you ever visit your sister out in Philly?
yes, I did. Not that often, but I did. Literally once or twice, and it wasn't. I guess the last time I visited her in Philadelphia before she moved was I must have been like 15 or 16, so I don't really remember much of it. But
I got
yeah,
you.
yeah, she's a whole lot older than I am. I think she's like 34, 35, something like that. She'd probably be mad at me for not knowing that off the top of my head, but
That's cool. At least you got some north northeast experience because a lot of people I've talked to from the Texas, Oklahoma scene, they
yeah.
never experienced.
Yeah, well, and to be fair, in my adult life, I have very little experience in the Northeast. Like, we just actually got an offer to do like a little tour thing up there in the Northeast, and it would be our first kind of outing there. So I don't even know. I don't know if that's going to go through or not. But if it does, it'll be kind of our first time playing live. Anywhere it's like Washington D.C. and then like going up to New York and doing one, and then over to Chicago or something. I don't know. It's something like that.
Yeah, there's a lot more guys doing those runs, and I of course I go to the shows, and there's a pretty big crowd. I,
Yeah.
I kind of get jealous because I'm like, yeah, they're coming up here. I'm going to be able to hang out with them and get some one-on-one time. And I'm just watching people come in. I'm kind of like happy and kind of like, oh,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, for
but
sure.
yeah, you just stay after the show or go to the merch booth and you get your
No
time.
doubt.
And
Yeah.
it's so cool to see because like we need we need like your all's music up here. Just to
Yeah. Well, and it's so cool that there's even a market for it. Like I think what throws me for a loop, I always imagine our scene, at least the scene that I, kind of came up playing in and cutting my teeth in, as being Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and it's crazy to me whenever I see a big reception for this type of music elsewhere. It blows my mind. Like when we go to Colorado and play, and there's people who actually come to the shows. You think going up there, it's like, oh, nobody knows us up here, and then they do. So it's cool.
yeah, the internet has literally put everything in your palm in your hand
Yeah.
with smartphones and everything. It's incredible the reach that you have.
Yeah, it really is unbelievable. I mean, I couldn't. I guess in some ways we're spoiled because of that. In some ways not. But I can't imagine a world where this is not, where technology is not king. Because it's just unbelievable. So much of our effort, so much of everything I do every day is like, okay, we made these songs, or I wrote this song and I really love it. Now, how do I just, how do I get it on as many platforms, as many eyeballs as possible? And it's wild to think that, for the majority of modern Western music, that was not the priority. It was live shows and selling records and doing radio stuff. It's like social media is just this brand new thing that is dominated the industry. It's a wild thing.
Yeah, and it's always evolving.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it changes daily.
Yeah, it's that itself is a job.
Yeah,
Just
it is, and it's like you're trying to build something solid on shaky ground. Everything's moving all the time, and it can be discouraging in a sense. And so, I think, yeah, in some ways it's helpful, but in some ways it is discouraging because everything's always changing and it's always this, what's next, what's new, where do I need to be? There's like always a kind of a paranoia thing. Like, am I doing it correctly? Am I like exerting my effort, um, in the correct way? Because there's a million ways to do it, and no one has a blueprint for it because every successful person in the music industry has done it totally different. So it's like, you know, good luck basing it off of anybody because that's not going to work.
yeah,
So,
that's a great point. That how individualistic the pathway an
yeah,
artist can navigate because and some just organically just for because they got struck by the lightning bolt they take off and just become huge like overnight, and that's another
yeah,
phenomenon.
it is, and it's wild, and for a lot of those people, it's very deserving. It's like for me, I guess specifically, any, and not that I've found any remarkable success or anything, but like the wins that I have found have been doing doing it kind of on my own terms. It's like the second you start trying to base it off of something or trying to chase something that you've seen work for somebody else, I feel like there's just not a lot of there's not a lot of fruits there to take. It's like the wins that we've found and the successful things that we've found have been very, very individual and kind of going off on a limb and doing your own thing. So it is interesting, and it does make me feel like, okay, we need to gear everything towards, just do your own thing, do your own, and I think there is a lot of truth in that. If you want to be successful, you've got to find something that no one else, has or no one else can do, or, you know, but for whatever that's worth, I don't know.
Yeah. Now, have you ever made something and you're like, this is it, and you put it out there and it just didn't come to life?
Absolutely, yeah. Because whenever you write something, specifically for me, it's like whenever I write a song, and every song that I put out, when I wrote that song, I felt that this is it. Like, this is such a great, and I think this is just true of any creator ever. It's like you create something and it comes from you. It is this thing floating around in the atmosphere, and you are able to pull it down and make sense of it, and you are to verbalize it and all the work that comes with that, and the care that goes into it, and you put it all together, and then you go and this month, sometimes much longer, but this long process of recording it and finding the musicians and putting everything together and paying for it all. And, you've got this little emotional thing that you've created, and then you're like, okay, I love it. And I love it so much, I'm going to put it out for other people to judge it, which is a huge thing to begin with. And then you do it, and, it falls short of whatever expectation you have, because I don't know about everybody else, but for me, my expectations always swell a lot in that moment, and then it never gets there. For
Yeah.
me, it's never like achieved. It's always like, oh, it could have done better, and then the next song is here.
Yeah.
So I think the answer to that is yes every time.
Yeah, every time. And that's a great answer too. But you have a lot of great stuff, and there's something about your voice. And it was funny. It was like I always felt weird saying it. I was like, how am I going to tell Jacob he's like a sweetness, just a sweet tone to your voice that just it's it just has a thing. And it's funny. It's like I'll do a Jacob Stelly video, and what did I call you? LL Stelly, the ladies
Yeah,
love. Because like all the comments are like, I love his voice, I love his voice, and it's just like normally when you can find that market, that's where you start to
yeah,
hit.
success happens.
Yeah, yeah,
Well,
and
we certainly hope so. Yeah, and I do appreciate that. It's funny. I just sing the way I sing and hope people like it.
yeah, and it's it's funny. I love the Deftones for like their just the soundscape and their atmospheric sounds, and you have that in your music too. And a lot of times it's you got like little things that are just different, and but you also have like the stripped back versions where you can absolutely prove you don't need any like what people would call like studio tricks and sounds and everything. And that's what I love, because like I love that in music. And I also like got to the point where like I was like getting tired of getting yelled at, like
Yeah.
and you're like Dark Side of the Moon embodies, and just the one what is Letting Go. It has that just like ethereal, cool soundscape that I can still appreciate, and just I love listening to stuff like that, and just like cutting the grass, and
Yeah.
it's a good voice,
Well,
it's
thank you. That means a lot, and it's funny that you bring up Dark Side because it's like that song is, for me anyways, it feels like so long ago, and but there's definitely, you know, people always talk about when you're writing songs, it just comes out like you don't intend on singing some way or having some type of like warmth in your voice or like doing this or even the bad things, it's like you don't intend on, having these little habits that you do. But for me, it's like that's what comes out. And when I write, it doesn't matter what it is. Usually it's on the softer side, and I don't know why that like I always try to like, you know, try to communicate some grit, because I know I lack a lot of that whenever I'm singing. Like as a vocalist, I know that, my go-to is not grit. My go-to is not gravelly, and I try to inject that in sometimes in becoming a better singer. Like focusing on that and working on that as a practice is it's given me the ability to kind of inject a little bit more of that. But typically everything I do kind of comes across in that fashion because that's just what's in my head. That's just how it happens. So it is wild hearing that, and like hearing somebody say that you've got like a soft tone, and I get it all the time, but it's like I don't even think about it. It's just like this just occurs when I open my mouth. But it's like thank you, I do appreciate that. And Dark Side of the Moon is we did that so long ago. I think that was probably the first project maybe that you had ever commented on or that you had ever done. And by the way, thank you for being a fan for as long as you have. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure my introduction to you and everybody was a Honcho Music Group, Dalton Domino.
Oh yeah.
And what's funny is his profile pic was like black and white. He had long hair, and like it looked like a Vietnam vet bandana. And he's like, "You don't know Chris Christopherson?" And like from the picture, I'm like, "I bet this guy flew choppers with Chris." And I was all intimidated, and I googled. I'm like, "He's in Rolling Stone," and I just remember he was always sending me DMs, all caps.
Oh
Like
yeah.
check out this guy, check out that guy, and I love the idea of just artists and songwriters just being in a collective group and helping each other. And I remember meeting him, being like, no long hair,
Oh yeah.
totally not intimidating. I'm
Oh
like,
yeah.
Dalton,
Yeah.
I had
He's a
such
funny guy. Because a lot of people have that react. You like if you talk to, especially over like a text message or a DM or anything like that, everything's real extreme. There's lots of periods. There's lots of all caps. It's like he's screaming at you no matter what the message is,
yeah,
always. And yeah, and then you meet him in person, and he's really just a teddy bear. He's just a sweetheart, and
yeah,
and it's funny. He comes in a lot of different forms. Sometimes he's got the handlebar mustache, and he's got the shaved head and the tracksuit, and then sometimes he's got the old Dalton Domino songwriter look about him. He's wearing. I always he's got that hat that you're talking about. And
yeah.
he's gonna be mad at me for forgetting what it's called, but I always call it a fedora because I know that makes him mad every time I say that he's wearing a fedora in the picture. Um, but yeah, he looks like that kind of Dalton. You never know what kind of Dalton Domino you're gonna get, but he's a funny man. He is. I mean, he's totally changed everything for me. Like our very first show that I ever played was pretty much exclusively because of Dalton, and ever since then he's been so helpful about everything. He's probably introduced me to you and got us at Mile Zero Fest and uh, Steamboat and everything else. I owe him the world for sure.
Yeah. Maybe he types in all caps so you don't have to put your glasses on to read it.
Exactly. That could be it too. That could be it too.
And if it's
I think
not, he could take that.
Yeah, I think his brain works like that. It just works in like shotgun blast. It's just everything boom, boom, boom. It's just like he's just there and he's out real quick. But
Yeah.
it's funny. It's funny the way he texts.
And is it the Honcho Music Group still alive and
Yeah,
well?
yeah, absolutely. Like I'm not on Honcho right now. But like they're my boys. I see them I see Jordan probably once every other week or so. I see Parker a little bit less now. Life gets in the way, but I hang out with them as much as I possibly can. So, and I write with them, monthly. I try to, and but yeah, they're still my best friends in the whole world. I still have like, I still have scars all over me for like me and Jordan doing stupid stuff and just like literally they're just permanent. They're just part of my life. So
That's what.
yeah, they're all my favorite people in the world. So
Jordan's hilarious. He started this story. He was like, listen, I've been thinking about doing a podcast of road stories. He's like, so there I was with Tanner Ussery. Now, granted, I'm scared of men with overly amounts of body hair. And he starts describing this. I'm like, that's a phobia of yours? He goes, oh, I can't stand it.
What a character. He is. Yeah, we actually had an idea about he was driving this for a while. Of course it never came to fruition, but he wanted to do we lived together last year for a whole year. I guess it's been a while now, but for a whole year we lived together in College Station. Great. It was what a time that was. But he what was I just talking about? I just totally blanked out. What is he?
Living with Jordan, College
Yeah, I
Station.
was I was gonna tell you a story, and then I just totally blanked
Oh,
out on what story I was gonna tell you. George, oh yeah, the podcast he's gonna start. He wanted to start a podcast with me about sports gambling and stories. He wanted to do like 50 and 50, and because I love sports gambling, he does too. Too much, we really get in the weeds in that thing. Thank God we never made that podcast because no one would have listened to it. It would have been horrible, and if anybody did listen to it, it would have been terrible advice because neither one of us are particularly good at gambling. We just like doing it. But yeah, he's a funny dude. He's a crazy man.
yeah. He was one of my favorite people to meet at Mile Zero.
Yeah, especially Miles Zero. He is in rare form there.
Ye-
That's good. Yeah, and then the night that we hung out, like you said, you don't really remember it. I don't either. I remember like dabbing you up, saying what's up. I have this like faint memory of because that was at like the main stage, and then we moved over into what's that street that everything happens on there?
Duval.
Yes, moved over to Duval Street, and we were at the Irish karaoke place. You know what I'm talking about?
Was that Ryan's? Is it Ryan's?
I don't remember. I'm terrible with names. I don't
Yeah,
remember,
same here.
but we were there. I remember like my fading last memory was like seeing you and being like, "Hey," and then it just like it
We,
just goes
we,
away.
we took a lot of pictures together, and I thought your guitar player was Parker.
Yeah,
It's the
yeah,
hair.
mm,
Because
no
I was
doubt.
like, oh, Parker Ryan was awesome. People were like, no, I don't think that's him, dude. I'm looking. I'm like, oh, dude,
There's a bunch of us that all look alike. Like Slade Coulter's guitar player looks just like me. Parker, yeah, me and Parker always get. I mean, every time we go anywhere, there's usually like somebody will walk up to me and be like, "Parker, I love your set, blah 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 blah," and I'll just be like, "Yeah, yeah, thanks, like I
yeah,
appreciate it."
it's
And
just
same way
easier
with
just to
him.
go with it.
Yeah, yeah. Somebody will walk up to him and just be like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah," and we'll just just go with. It's just too hard to explain.
Yeah, that's funny. The last thing we talked about was getting IVs the next day.
Mm.
That was
And
like
I
our
never
last.
did that. Did you do that?
No, because I was like, man, I was like, I don't think we exchanged numbers or anything. And then we showed up. I saw you again. You're like, yeah, nah, we didn't go either. But
No.
I could have used one. I missed quite a bit of people because I like woke up and was just like, where am
Oh yeah.
I?
Yeah, I'll never. That was, that was our first time going to Mile Zero Fest, and that trip will always be burnt into my brain for so many reasons. One, we went there, and this is years ago now, and we were even more broke back then, and we were like we went to Mile Zero Fest with no money. None of us did. None of us had any money. With the first day, we didn't even make hotel reservations. We thought that it would be a good idea to sleep on the beach at Mile Zero Fest. Terrible idea. I guess I just romanticized the idea of sleeping on a beach. I thought that that would be something fun to do. Like comfortable. It's not comfortable. It's January, so
Yeah,
the wind coming off the water is cold.
yeah.
There's also didn't know they existed, but there's like sand fleas.
Oh, creepy crawlers. Yeah,
Yeah, learned about those. Um, yeah, it was miserable. It was an awful experience sleeping on the beach the first night of Mile Zero Fest, and that set the entire tone for the rest of the trip. Because then it was just debauchery. I mean, it was just it was insane. But yeah, what a great memory. I'll keep that forever.
yeah. That was my first time ever experiencing all the personalities and meeting the people and just really like it was cool to be welcomed because I didn't
Yeah.
know what to expect. And like I walk out, I'm at a bar, I don't know anybody, and the people just running up were like, "Hey, what's up, man?" And I was like, "That's Midnight River Choir," and I'm like, it was cool to just to be recognized because I don't really know how much of an impact like the TikTok has, and a lot of people were telling me a lot of stories of they were saying like people come up and said, "Hey, found you through that guy on TikTok," and that's cool to have at the beginning when the reach was massive. Now it's a little pulled back and scaled back, but it's still a lot of people. It's always cool when people are like, "Never heard this guy's voice. I really enjoy this music. Thank you," because I've
Yeah.
always I don't know. It's just really cool sharing that moment because instead of like in the car with your buddy or your buddies, now it's on a big scale, and it's
Yeah.
it's it's cool to spread good music because I did not know that good music like this existed, and there's these subgenres of country and whatnot of the like that are generally good and just not well known, and to
Yeah.
put a
Yeah.
spotlight is incredible to have.
And it is very impactful. It is. I've had that multiple times. People come up and say that they have found us specifically through you, and yeah, I mean that's happened to me numerous times, and that's why when that first trip to Mile Zero Fest, as soon as I saw you, I was like, oh yeah, hell yeah, there he is. Like because we're just like, especially I don't even remember what the first song was. Maybe it was Dark Side of the Moon. I'm not sure, but yeah, I just remember that was kind of the first. I don't know, the first, because that was before I even started using TikTok really, and I that was kind of the first time that we had somebody even acknowledge us on there, and it was cool. And yeah, so I'm very thankful for that. And yeah, I mean you're totally right. It's such a cool and unique thing that you do specifically because, like you said, there's a lot of people don't know about this little subgenre here in this little place in the world, and it's such a crazy and diverse scene. It's wild because I think it's the only scene that is so location reliant. It's like all these artists who are very, very different, make very different music. They're all from Texas, and that common thread kind of kind of sticks us all together. And I don't think that's true of everywhere else. Like I know there's scenes, there's California scenes, and there's Northeast scenes, and I know that there's these scenes, but it seems like in Texas there's definitely something different about it, and there's something weird and unique, and it is cool that anyone cares to put a spotlight on it.
Yeah, and you guys also have like historical venues, and
Yeah,
it's in it almost seems a very cultural thing ingrained in Texans is you guys and the music. Like I know I heard you're playing Green Hall, and I know that's a Super Bowl for a lot of artists for your
Yeah.
genre.
For the first time, we're headlining it on August 17th, and yeah, it's weird in that sense. Like there are these like staples of Texas where like even before I was uh, injected in any way into the Texas scene, and even before I really listened to that music hard, before I was an artist, before when I was just simply a listener, and before I listened to stuff in the scene, I still grew up understanding that Green Hall is like the mecca of Texas. It's like this place that you go to get Texas culture. It's like it's there and Billy Bob's and all these different venues that have such kind of a historic cultural impact on the state of Texas and every kid who grows up, anywhere in the state really. I grew up nowhere near Green Hall, but I knew as a kid, you know, my dad would tell me, I saw this person there, I saw that person, or it's just part of the lore of this entire state. It's so important, and yeah, I'm very excited to be a small part of that. And yeah, it's weird, these smaller artists just kind of carry the torch, for years and years, and I'm lucky that I even get to be considered that, anything like that. So yeah, it's cool. It's really cool. Very cool venues.
Yeah, and that's gonna be a night like you're just never gonna want to end.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, no doubt. It's gonna be cool. We played there once. With Slade, we co-headlined with Slade, and this will be the first time kind of doing it by ourselves. And yeah, and that first night was insane. So I'm really looking forward to this one.
and you also have a show at House of Blues too, as
Yes,
well.
yeah, the 14th of this month. So I guess that's not I guess not this Saturday, but next Saturday. I'm pretty sure. Maybe no, not this Friday, but next Friday. That's what it is. Um, Yeah, so that's another one. House of Blues, a little bit less like I think historical value, just a little bit less though, not by much. Like it's still a really cool venue, and I love playing there. It's in the middle of town. It's a cool place. Cool hook. They hook us up. The staff is great. So that's one thing about Green is that there's no air conditioner. There's no it's hot and it's humid and it's stuffy, especially when everybody gets in there. And House of Blues has a totally different vibe. It feels like this nice kind of regal atmosphere. It's cool.
and and all these shows will be played shoeless.
I don't know. I don't know. I usually try to, I mostly do play shoeless, but recently I've been I got I got me and the whole band some custom Adidas, and they all have like nicknames on them stuff. So I definitely, I've been wearing those like crazy. But I don't know. I guarantee you that Green Hall date ends up shoeless. Yeah.
So how did that start? Is that just a preference, or do you perform
Well,
better?
yeah, I kind of do. It started off It started off with me being nervous, and it's just something about me is that like for I just don't like really wearing shoes anyways. So like it was just a matter of okay, I'm really nervous right now. I just started playing shows. I don't know what I'm doing. Like I've written these songs, I barely know how to play them. I'm like playing in front of all these people, and I'm like, oh shit, what do I do? And the only thing that I could find to like extinguish some of those nerves was me walking around barefoot. And there's something about being barefoot on stage specifically that's nice because when it comes to like the bass, I can feel the bass so much more at my feet, and I can I can get a grip on things, and once I settle into it, then it was fine, and as I've progressed as an artist and becoming more comfortable with the whole thing, I don't have to go without shoes now. But at the beginning it definitely was a crutch. It was like
Yeah,
I got to do this so I can calm down a little bit.
yeah.
Almost got it.
Can't be nervous and shaking in your boots while you're not wearing boots.
Yep, can't do it. It's impossible to shake in your boots with no boots. So yeah,
But
that's a
yeah,
good point.
I get that. Like uh Kion from Cody
Yeah,
West, he was standing on like it looked like a riser, and I was wondering what that was. And somebody actually asked in the comments, and he explained it's so he can feel the bass on his feet. And I was
yeah,
like, that's something I never heard about, but I get how that could help because when I would play rhythm, I didn't care what anybody else was playing because I normally played to the bass player. And as long
yeah,
as I could feel the bass, I always knew where I was, even if my in ears were out. Or so definitely a feel thing, but I never thought
yeah.
about feeling
No
it through the
doubt,
feet.
and specifically, like Kyan is like one of my very good friends. I've known him forever. He's awesome, and he does have that's a really cool thing he's got. But it does help me specifically. Like it helps a lot feeling that. I mean, just just to be comfortable up there. I mean, you always know where you're at. Like you said, like the bass is just such an integral part of everyone's process. So yeah, very
Yeah.
important.
Yeah, speaking of him, what an incredible story. I wanted to do something about his journey, but I'm like, I didn't feel comfortable without his permission, and I didn't want to
Yeah,
like bring it up so close, so soon. Of just what a
yeah.
wild story.
What? Yeah. What a beautiful story. Honestly,
Yeah,
like, yeah, like it's. I feel like, thank God we're in a time where, like, we have the technology available to do that. It's like losing your hearing is already such a substantial life change, but being a musician and that occurring is, um, yeah, I just couldn't imagine. I mean, it's got to be devastating. It's like it's such a necessary tool that you have, and not having your hearing is. I mean, it's just that's especially for someone who is so passionate about music and so passionate about what he does and so great at what he does. It's just such it's. I mean, it's got to be an earth shattering event, and I know it was for him, and for him to be so positive about it and bounce back so hard, and for us to have the technology available to give him back the thing that he loves so much. It's incredible. It's unbelievable.
yeah. He was a huge part of the beginning of this channel. He sent me things, gave me artists that he was working with. So just to
Yeah.
see that Instagram post of him, it's like, by the way, I haven't been around. This is this is the story to
Yeah.
100% hearing loss, and I don't know if music was all of his what he knew throughout life, and that's how he supports his family. And so yeah, like you said, the technology to be able to restore just hearing for someone that loves music and is a great musician is
Mm.
it definitely it's roller coaster of tragedy, but
But
some
yeah, I mean, there's beautiful, into it. It's yeah, it's remarkable. That's all it is. It's so cool that that it worked out the way it did, and especially for somebody such a great person. Like it's just yeah, it is unfortunate that it occurred at all, but you know, for such a great person to have such something so great happen to him also with getting it back and being able to recover and retain music. It's beautiful. It's cool.
yeah. Have you ever had any scares or anything that threatened your musical career?
Um, no, I haven't. I've actually been, and actually the kind of the kind thing put it all a little bit in perspective specifically for this. It's like I used to, like we don't play with wedges anymore. We have in ears, and that's a a huge development for that specifically. And um, with the in ears, I used to kind of turn them up. Like whenever I got uncomfortable, I would just kind of turn them up, yank them up. And for me, like louder was more comfortable. Like if I ever got in a bind or if I ever felt uncomfortable on stage, just louder, louder, give me more. And I've learned that that's not the way to do it. And definitely kind of a rookie move. And just progressing and understanding more about the craft. It's like, I try to make it as quiet as possible now in my ears, and that's made all the difference in the world, just performance wise. But no, I've never had anything like that. Yeah, kind of a scare in any way of not being able to play music. Thankfully, that would be terrifying. But yeah.
Yeah, because music is your full time gig, right? Is
Oh
that
yeah, yeah. That's what I do, and that's what we've done now for years. And um, yeah, thankfully I have a great support system around me. Like my girlfriend's incredible. She's super cool. She's occupational therapist. She makes good money. She's my sugar mama. So I always say that every night. She always gets mad at me on stage because I'm always like have this big long story about her, and then I'm like, yeah, I worked hard for sugar mama for a long time, and I finally got one. And
I worked
it's
hard
a
for one?
yeah, it's an old bit, but it's a good one.
Yeah.
So she's cool though. She's great. She's at work right now, which is funny that like every time she's like, I've been at work all day, and I'm like, oh yeah, I have been too. I've been sitting here in my underwear writing songs. It's like it's not a very conventional job at all, but it gets the bills paid, and I'm very fortunate for it.
Yeah, that's a great situation.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So where are you at exactly?
Delaware.
Okay.
I'm
Nice.
I'm I'm trying to think. Uh it's like that scene in Wayne's World. Delaware. It's actually it is a pretty cool spot because I can be in Baltimore in under an hour. I can be in New York in about an hour and 30 minutes. So that's cool having
That is
access,
definitely.
and the beaches are an hour and a half, 2 hours away. Music wise, it's not the best, but like all of our venues, like they're not, if they don't make it, the big turnover rate. I just
Yeah.
went to a venue the other day. Adam Hood's playing there, and I wanted to check it out just in case he texts me and says, "Hey, how's that place?" And the people there, they knew what they were doing. It was a smaller place with a big ceiling. I'm like, man, that it probably could hold 200, 300 people, but with that big ceiling and with sound, sometimes that can be a nightmare. But
Hmm.
it was clear, precise. They definitely knew what they were doing, and you could tell the people that owned it loved the music. And it was funny is uh, two of the I thought about you because two of the musicians didn't have shoes on. They played barefoot,
Yeah.
and I was like, it's like Jacob Stelly up there.
Hell yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah, they like a lot of people ask us what we play because prior to the show, my friend said, "What kind of music do you play?" He goes, the worst kind." And he said, folk country," and they were from Boston. I said, "A Boston country folk band," and it was Adam Elza. They were awesome, and I was like, "Wow." I was like surprised I haven't seen these guys on some of these festivals. I said they might not even know that there's a group of musicians because they had their fiddleist or fiddle player. I don't even know if that's a word. Was playing
Fiddlist.
like 70s psychedelic sound, and I'm like, dude, this is. Had I heard this before, I would have had more background into hearing the Texas country. And
Yeah.
they did something I've never seen a band do. They were talking about COVID, how 6 foot distancing, and how it really pushed music and the audience, the musicians in the audience, away from each other. So they had in ears, they had everything. They didn't use them. They actually played acoustic in the crowd. They took some of the chairs and made a circle and played like they didn't use any of their microphones. They sat in a circle and said, if you want to hear and get the experience, you got to come in close. And everyone came in like a bonfire and they sang a bunch of songs. And it was really cool. They had a cajon box and they're playing the violin acoustic, no amplification. And they were telling stories about their songs. And I was, it was like rock show, listening room. And then they went back to, rock show and then came back down and told more stories. and was like, "Hey, anybody been here?" And they're like, "Yeah, we've been there. Cool, we're playing there next week." And it was a real cool way to connect with the audience. And I've been doing a lot more shows. That was the first I'd ever experienced that, and I was like, "Man, this is great." And they had a laptop running, and they were burning. If you wanted uh, a recording of that live show, they were giving away the memory drives for free.
Dang, that's sick. That's really
Yeah,
cool.
because I know my board does that, the QSC, and because I was wondering why there was like a room mic, and I'm like, man, that's cool. And then he did, he did. He said, in my experience, I spent all my money on the ticket, and I wasn't able to afford merch. So whatever you can give, that's how much our merch is. And I was like, bold move there, Cotton.
Yeah, yeah, that's great until
There's
somebody
gonna be a
flops
guy selling
$2
it out
on
on
the
the
table.
corner.
Yeah, no
Adam
doubt.
Ells. Yeah, but I think he made more money. I was fascinated by that. I had to check out. Just I stood to the corner and was like, man, I bet you he's making more money than he did if he had set prices. I said, this is an interesting marketing idea, but in the end, it works. And yeah, it was a really cool experience, and I thought that was interesting. But I loved when they had no shoes on.
Yeah,
That's Stelly style right there.
hell yeah. Yeah, I mean, it left such an impression on you that you never forget that. That's pretty wild. Yeah, that's insane. I'll have to look them up. What did you say their name was again?
Oh, man, I hope I don't get this. Adam Elza.
Adam
Was it Adam?
Elza.
Adam Elza Group. I heard a couple of their songs. It doesn't match their live
Yeah,
intensity, but it was just interesting because I was not expecting like a folk country band to be playing in the area that I was in.
yeah,
It definitely blew me away because it just happened to be, at Adam Hood's coming to this venue. I said, let me check it out just so I can give him some pointers of just a heads up. Yeah,
yeah,
just to stay on the up and ups with my Texas. Well, he's from Alabama artist, and
yeah,
he was so nice to me at Mile Zero that I'd like to return the favor.
yeah, yeah. That's super sick. I would love to play up there sometimes. It's so wild. It's like a different world. It's like I couldn't imagine. I don't know. We never go that far from home. Like Colorado's like our stretch. That's like as far as we've gone further, but it's so rare. It's wild, and
Yeah,
it is really cool seeing a country kind of folk band originating from up there. It's cool.
yeah, especially Boston because the accent.
Yeah,
Because it's once he said he was from Boston, because I have cousins from Boston, and sometimes obviously I love them, but I'm just like, dude, I don't know what you just said,
yeah.
especially when
You're
they're
gonna have to
drinking.
run that by me again.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm like, there's not 33 R's at the end of everything that ends in A, dude. Come on. Yeah.
yeah. My family's like a lot of my family is Cajun, so it's like they like even my girlfriend when we go to family events or whatever, I have to stand next to her and like translate stuff because they're just I mean it's such a messy dialect. It's just all over the place, and it's like if you're not raised around that, if you're not raised around somebody who's from South Louisiana, it's hard to you really got to start kind of tune in and try to decode what they're saying.
it it reminds me of a lot of my viral videos went because I mispronounced things in Texas, which I would say I'm pronouncing them correctly. Like Pecos. That's
Yeah.
Pecos.
Oh yeah.
What is it? Lubick? That's Lubbock.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's funny that you bring up Pecos because like even in Texas, like a lot of people will say like Pecos or that it's wild how many different ways they'll butcher that name, and I love Pecos. He's awesome and he's very kind to us, and we're fortunate to to open up for them pretty frequently, and they've really put us in a lot of places that we would otherwise not have been able to go, and very fortunate. But yeah, everybody always butchers his name, and it's hilarious.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's not as funny for him, but it's pretty funny for me.
Yeah. I asked him, I was on his tour bus and I was like, Pecos, do you want to make a video of how to pronounce your name to settle it once and for all? And he goes, nope. I love it. I was like, really? He goes, nah. He was just kind of like shrugged his shoulders. He's like, I love it. He just, it's great. I'm like, okay.
Uh, yeah,
Also, he's tall. I was not expecting him to be so tall.
he's a big man. He's a
Yeah.
unit. He is. Yeah, I would not want to not if there's like a list of like Texas artists that I would not want to fight in a fist fight. Pecos is probably number one. He is a unit of a man. He's a big dude.
Yeah, and a lot of the comments I have heard where they're saying, "Oh, they're not good live." I saw them down in the Motor Speedway at Highway 30. I thought they were great live.
They are great live. I mean, I think that for people who ever say that, and I think it's said a lot less. But yeah, it's just a taste thing. I'm sure. Like he's incredible. His band is great, and they only get better and better. And their set now is so incredible. It's orchestrated really well, and they've got an incredible band. They've yeah, they're great. They're really great, and yeah, I love being with them. I love hanging out with them. They're great people. They're great musicians. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, they came. I say close, as in 8 hours away. I was talking to Kane and Bryce was opening up for him, and he's like, "Hey man, come on out." I'm like, "I'll try," but it's it was too much. I would have to burn up so much vacation time to go down there. But they came close, but I got to see them down in Texas, and like they were fun too. They Texas Motor Speedway, and they're dressed as Talladega Nights. I
Yeah.
loved it.
Oh, excuse me.
Bless you.
Yeah, I saw on Instagram when they played that, and it was hilarious that they were all dressed like that. But um, yeah, that's 8 hours is tough. That's like driving from where I'm at right now to Lubbock. Like whenever we have to play in Lubbock, it's like 7 hours. 7.5 hours. It's like and we play there pretty frequently, so it's pretty funny. And like Slade lives in Lubbock, so he's having to drive, and I always bring this up with him, but it's like no matter where he drives, he's driving 4 hours, because Lubbock is a long ways from everywhere.
It's incredible the distances in Texas blow my mind.
Oh
'Cause,
yeah, yeah. I mean, every single weekend when we play, you know, just about everywhere we play at, you're looking at 3 hours. Like 3 hours is an easy drive. That's like, and you never leave Texas. When we played in uh, we played in I think it was like Beaumont or something, and the next day we had to play in El Paso, and that drive from Beaumont to El Paso is like a never ending. I mean, it's like 12 hours. It's just, and you never leave Texas. You never see any other state other than Texas. It's wild. And it's literally, it would be closer to drive um, to the Atlantic Ocean than it would be to drive to El Paso from East Texas. It's like, it's insane.
yeah, I was watching TikTok, and they were saying it's closer to drive to L.A. from this point in Texas to this point. I'm like that from the Northeast, everything's kind of condensed. And I just remember the first time I drove to Nashville, I believe it was 81, and it's like you're on it for 560, 600 miles, and that blew my mind. I'd never been on the highway
For
that
that long.
long. I mean, we have 95, but I haven't drove to Florida in a while. That takes about 24 hours, but just and you get like tunnel vision just driving on the same road, and it's
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, even driving to Nashville from here is yeah, that drive is brutal. That's the once you get to Tennessee, at least coming from this way, once you get to Tennessee, that part is the worst part of the drive. Like going through Tennessee to Nashville is just, I mean, yeah, one of the most brutal drives ever.
Yeah, it's we always got pulled over because I would say, "Oh, it's the Yankee tags,"
Oh
because
yeah.
we'd rent a van, and I would always walk. And I remember the first time the guys were like, "What are you looking at?" And I said, "I'm going to see what state." And they're like, "Why?" I said, "Because it makes a big difference when you drive out Midwest, what plates you have." And I look back, New York. I said, "Well, that just added 20 miles an hour to the
Oh
radar
yeah.
gun." And they're
Oh
like,
yeah.
"You're just paranoid." Nah, I got pulled over.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet it. Maybe it does. I it's funny, like driving to like El Paso or anything like that. You don't think about it, but then you got to start thinking about border patrol, and so it's wild for us, and we've learned. We learned after the first one. It's like whenever you're driving, like we were driving from El Paso to we were playing in Concan with Will Green, and there's a border patrol stop that you have to stop at to get to Concan, Texas. Like you never leave Texas, but you got to stop at the border patrol, and that's wild because we always drive the speed limits. We're not worried about about getting pulled over, but that is a mandatory stop, and they got us good. They got us real good. Yeah, yeah. My friend's uncle always said it's okay to break one law, but don't break two laws at the same time. And yeah, we got caught for a little bit of pot for that one, but
It's I is that not legal in Texas?
no,
Oh,
no,
really?
no, heck no. We still got blue laws down here, pretty stringent. My dad always says it's because of the Baptist, but no, yeah, it's pretty intense here. I think we might be the last state to ever let that go. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see, but I guess it is legal there.
It's it's weird, but it's like a ticket.
Yeah.
They're just like, "Here, go away."
Yeah. Yeah, they've kind of gotten like certain places are bad, certain places aren't. Like where, I grew up, you still go to jail if they catch you. But like in Houston, um in Houston it's just a ticket, I think. In Austin it's just a ticket. On the border is more of an offense. But yeah, I don't know. We're just behind the times, I guess.
Eh, there, you'll catch up.
Yeah. Hopefully,
It's
eventually.
because old people vote, and you have stuff to
Yep.
do.
Oh yeah. Yep.
You got to
Yeah.
drive 12 hours. You got to make it to the show.
No doubt. No doubt.
That's the problem.
Yeah. Yeah, man. But it's good. It's fun. I love what I do. It's nice, and I don't hate driving. I kind of like it sometimes. It's easier when you've got multiple people driving and doing that whole thing. And we have a new Sprinter van now, which is way smoother than the old one. And yeah, we got a little TV in there and some Xbox. Play some zombies, or we got stuff to do.
Yeah, that helps. I for one, I love to travel. I just don't like traveling. I'm not a fan of the process to get there.
Yeah.
Unless it's a train. The train that you can just get on the train. No one's feeling you up. You don't have to get in any machine. You just walk on the train and you walk right off. And nine
Yeah.
times out of 10, you're in the city you wanted to be at. But driving long distances anymore,
See, that's such a foreign concept because I don't think I've ever ridden a train anywhere in my life. So that's pretty wild.
yeah, it's pretty convenient. It's
Yeah, I imagine.
especially being a musician where it drops you right off in the hub. And I know a lot of the bigger acts, they take the train and their rigs travel and drive, so the artists get to take the luxury route.
Damn, that's badass. That's
Yeah,
cool.
it's expensive, but it's especially like when you ride first class the Acela, it's it's pretty cool. I mean, that's how I ended up. I physically ran into Taylor Hawkins, and I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry," because everybody. I was traveling from Boston down to Delaware, and everybody gets off in New York City. So I was like, "This is a great time to get up and like get my legs blood pumping," and I just spin around. Here we're wearing the same shirt, and I'm like, "Man, this guy looks really familiar." And I sat down with my laptop. I typed in famous white guys, and I'm clicking, and a guy goes, "Excuse me, can I put my bag up here?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." And I look up, it's Dave Grohl. I was like,
Oh shit.
okay. I, well, I worked there, and I didn't want to get fired for being like, just
Yo. Yeah.
bothering him because that,
Yeah.
and he knew I was his demographic of, you know,
Yeah.
in my lifetime he came out and they changed the face of music. And as for a guitar player, it was kind of frustrating too because then it became cool not to be able to play guitar a little bit. That whole
Yeah.
grunge scene.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, and that's what they were doing. They were traveling, and the rigs were following them down to DC, and you can
Yeah.
just get right off, and the stadium's right there normally. So that's definitely
That's wild. That's wild.
yeah. It definitely. I do see every once in a while that you guys are supposed to get high speed rail.
Yeah, I feel like they've been saying that for like my whole life. They've been like, "Oh, this is coming to Texas," and you know, I'm sure it will. But and actually, I think there is already one. I might sound like an idiot for anyone who lives in like Dallas or like Austin, because I think there is something that you can do that's like that. But I'm uncultured, so I do not know. I'm not familiar with it or how it works. But yeah, no, I mean, maybe if I think everything's just too spread out, and we live in the middle of nowhere, so there's never ever going to be a high speed rail coming through Huntsville, Texas. That's for sure.
Oh man, they talk about like those hyper loops and everything. That'd be great. You could just
Yeah.
have lunch in L.A. or Dallas and shoot back to wherever within. But yeah, that'll probably be our kids.
Yeah,
But
no doubt. Not anytime soon.
yeah,
Not anytime soon at all. Well, hey, I gotta just let you know. I got at 6. I'm supposed to leave here and go meet my girlfriend somewhere. I was just letting you know.
okay. If you got to run, you got to run.
Yeah, I'm good for the next couple minutes, but I just wanted to let you know that I need to peace out probably at 6.
Okay. Well, so we got 5 minutes. Well, is there anything you want to touch on?
I've been laying low pretty much as far as music release and everything goes. You know, I have this project that I'm working on right now that um, I've been kind of being real quiet about because I really love it. I really think it's going to be sick, and I want to do it correctly, and I want to do it at the most kind of as big as I can possibly do it up. And so I haven't really announced anything yet, but I know a lot of people have been asking me, like, what's going on? Like, when are we getting music and this whole thing? And so, just if anyone is listening and wondering that question, it's coming, and I'm really, really, really excited about it. Um, but I'm going to make sure it is top notch before we send it out. So it's going to be a little bit longer, but yeah, I've got stuff coming, and I'm really excited about it.
Cool. And if there's anything I can do on my end to help promote it,
Yeah,
don't feel free. I'll do
yeah.
whatever you want.
I will. I will definitely be reaching out. We're nowhere near like the time to have it prepared at that point, but yeah, for sure, I will definitely be reaching out whenever we get it all in the bag.
Awesome. Because, I'm a fan.
Yeah, and I do. I appreciate it so much. I appreciate you having me on here. I really appreciate you pushing our stuff for as long as you have, and for putting a spotlight on some of the little guys. It means a lot.
Yeah, dude. Anything I can do because you guys are making great music and you're all great people too. So I like seeing good people have great things happen to them because it's very deserving.
Well, thank you, thank you. It does mean a lot, and yeah, I can't wait to get you to the new stuff. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I'm excited as well.
Well, hell yeah, man. Thank you so much for having me on here. I really, really appreciate it. And we need to do this again sometime.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for coming on. And yeah, next time, let's get IVs.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Heck yeah.
My head
Let's run
hurts
it
so
back.
much.
That means we got to do the night before, too.
Yeah.
We got to do the whole thing.
Yeah. All right, man. Dude, thanks for jumping on.
Absolutely. See you, man.